Hey, my name is Jon Markson. I'm a producer, engineer, and mixer for bands like Drug Church, Drain, One Step Closer, Koyo. I also play in the band Such Gold, and I'm the Avalanche, and this is my gear story. I want to talk for a second about EQ, which is probably my favorite sound manipulator in the studio. There are a lot of super identifiable EQs that people know in the box and in the analog domain. Neve, SSL, API, they all have their different identifiable elements to them. People associate Neve with the big bottom end, API with punchiness, SSL with a little bit of edge and flexibility. But there's a ton of different EQs that are not as sung, and one of my favorite ones are the different types of EQs that you can get from a Sony MCI MXP3036, the kind of console that I own. Now, I don't use that console every day for a mixing environment, but I do use the equalizers that I've re-racked in a variety of racks every single day, recording and mixing. They have one of the most unique sounds, especially on aggressive guitar music. And I remember the first time cutting a record for an extended period of time at a studio that had one of these consoles, or even had a console in general. I think it's really fun for producers, hobby musicians, for hobby engineers, whatever, to record lots of different sounds, experiment with microphones, and it's easy for that experimentation to get carried away, and in the quest for tone, you actually kind of lose a focus. I think one of the coolest things that a console can be for the recordist is not even the mixing device, but is really a conduit to help sum your recorded channels down. So one of my favorite things to do for aggressive guitar music, the stuff that I work on most of the time, is to record a few guitar amps at the same time and sum those channels down to 1 or 2 channels on a console or in your DAW. And one of my favorite things to do to those channels is then have them all meet together at an EQ or maybe 2 EQs. And the Sony MCI MXP3036 variety of EQs are my favorite for guitar. They have an edge to them, they're a little bit rude sounding, and they really have a texture to them that I just can't quite put my finger on and do the same thing with, you know, your APIs or your SSLs. The cool thing about this console too is they have a lot of different EQ types. So this is like the fully parametric one, Q value, frequency value, gain, swing, but they also have a bunch of other ones. This one's the semi-parametric one. This is the one that I actually use probably the most in my mixing room. I have a few of these racked up, but API made some. They made 550Bs in the same format for this console. It's modular just like an SSL was, or like an API or a Neve, or certain of those consoles. They also have, you know, Pultec passive styles as well as graphic EQs. I didn't bring all those with me today because they're being used. This is my gear story and I'm sticking to it.